Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. No. Oh no. Really? No. Okay. Good morning. Songji chu don chot jun chong nam la hyong che par de don hiap san che dok yin so je pu so nam che. Ndro la pan hyor songji ndra par hyo. Sem chen tam che dewa don devi je don dembra che chi. Dungar ke je don terra che chi. Dungar me pe dewa tamba don mandar ba churchi nyering chodon ye don terra don nyang tse me pa. Ni per churchi Shōman chūji yīnji pōrōni, tūsān sāngjī kāngyō ngōwāni, rōngsān chū kōngā sōptānzi. Tsāwilā mē xiablā sōrvāndi, dāwiyān sāmchīn tamchī jī jirchīn jī lāpānzi tā sōl. Sāsān dūngā chīndrā chē chīnchīn, yāsō mē pō xiwā jī lāsō, sāmchīn tāndi nirdā dāngchī. Dāmbā nām jīnnūn tā tsār dā sōl. Ni ji chimbo tso de ni machine, zone mamam chimbo nga jata, pekarta ngang sen tu hyum. Tumba kadran chan la sorwa ndebe. Omara patsanata, omara patsanata, omara patsanata, omara patsanata. Omara patsanata. Yeah, good morning. We are talking about the spiritual friend. One hand, really very important, almost impossible without rely on spiritual friend, become the Buddhahood. Almost there's no chance. If we want to be happy, what do you mean happy? I mean happiness is like kind of to understand the situation of the relative, to understand of the reality. That's most important. Generally speaking, may we think, I know as you knows. I know as you know as. Oh, really? But maybe not. There's many things we are a bit confused. And one is compare the animals. Sometimes we think it's intelligent. I am intelligent. I can collect best food, best clothes, earn money, taking care of the families, to make war my enemy, to collect families. That is really not necessarily the human's qualities. Any kind of transmigrations, they can do that. Animals. Also, it's like kind of when they are thirsty, they're searching for food, like water. When they are hungry, also they searching food. And also good food. And and also they have discriminating what is the can eatable, not something is cannot eatable. When you look at the animals, then pick up the grass, they know very well. And also they take care of family. And also most animals, they make shelter and all the families to collect, relatives, and protect each other. Of course, they fighting animals like this. That is not really surprise if you say, I can do that. Everybody, is not necessarily human beings. But there is something like a kind of the real reality. Real reality means something is truthful, and also it is not only the truthful, but it can bring happy, not kind of the getty happy. One is like kind of moment happy, the ending is regret, suffering, and not pleasant. Oh, why I did. It was a delicious excitement, but the end. We say, This kind of not something is inconceivable arise, happiness in our mind. Very much untalkable, undescribable. And this sort of, maybe this happiness arise from our mind, maybe forever. And in this life, or maybe also in the future. That means today also happy, maybe we will be tomorrow also happy. This month is happy, next month, this year, next year. We say forever happiness. Any kind of circumstances occur, we don't need much care. Maybe best inner happiness occur or arise, and this happiness trace arising through the study, reflecting, meditate on the Buddha's teaching. Maybe then is the best happiness. Millions of people, they have this kind of experience. And of course, completely to permanent result happiness, very rare. And this is the truth. Now, therefore, we are follow up the spiritual friend. Spiritual friends give to us knowledge and to open the eyes of discriminating wisdom. What is right? What is the wrong? What is needed to do? What is we not to do? And it is very important. And also it's like any kind of spiritual friend or teachers cannot reassure us. Teacher itself has such good qualities. Teacher itself needs some achievement. Teacher itself has great expert for the realization of the true nature of the realities. And teacher itself did or worked with all this kind of different tasks. Task of suffering, task of happiness, and struggling, then they become very much talent. The cause of the happiness, cause of the sufferings. And then they are like kind of the eradicated, the cause of the suffering, and result of the sufferings. And they become the inconceivable genuine mankind. And this sort of great expert, learned realizations we should to follow. We never something wrong. And we all the times receive some good. Never ever we become the bad things. They guarantee. We already studied, there's some crazy guide, friend, spiritual teacher, mad guide, spiritual friend, like a kind of, looks like millstone made wood. This, there's some, is a fake spiritual friend, materialism teachers, very much dangerous. They are like kind of someone's make very much business. How they can to receive some honors, offerings, profit, and using to the others, and like doing the benefit themselves. It's a true. Not very much concerning the student's knowledge, development. This sort of problematic, or how do you say it? Our the time says, very diplomatic dangers. And can destroy it in this life, can destroy it also many lives. We follow this kind of the wrong teachers. You just waste your human existence. And therefore, we are studying how to follow, how we can to find the spiritual friend. And in this book, The Word of My Perfect Teachers, in the chapter 6, to say how to follow the spiritual friend. And here is like kind of the 3 steps process. First, we need to examine teacher a lot. And through the by eye, through the by ear, and through checking the knowledge, everything. And then is we find some right teacher. And there is also like kind of, one is like very important point to check this teacher has compassion. If a teacher has compassion, any perspective, we can to receive some good. And of course, once we find the teacher, also our student also need to be serious. Teachers also, it's difficult to accept student. Yesterday we described how it is the fortunate student is doing. There is talking about you make some fortunate students to make please to their own individual teacher. There are 3 ways to please the teacher and serve him. That is like we can to say, once we find the teacher, after how we can to follow the teacher, how we can to receive the teacher, how we can to listen, emulating, and make a copy the teacher's action realizations, learned everything. And of course, we are like kind of all the times argue, making the displease, and like a kind of fighting, dispute, and this way to listen teaching Dharma is a very bizarre. Maybe very special occasions. And of course, there are some masters this kind of history, but maybe we are not like this. Therefore, first is like yesterday we said, the best way is the know as the offering of practice, and consists of the putting whatever he teaches into practice with determination, disregarding all the hardships. That is the most important. Once we follow up the teachers, some spiritual teachers, and then we need listen properly, and we need to follow up these instructions. And then teachers teach things we need to into practice. Very important. Experience. Into practice means, okay, teacher says, you look at your own defects. You look at your conditions, or look at your conduct, look at your attitude. And whatever attitude is occurring into your mind, you should check it is positive or negative. If negative, you should to give up, transform into the positive. And positive, there's many kind of, maybe relate to the bodhicitta, maybe relate to the another, how to relate to your nature reality, mindfulness, so on. Then it's like, yeah, teacher told me that. That is into practice. You experience again, determinationally and disregardedly on any kind of hardship. Of course, we need to go under a little bit hardship when we study, reflect, meditations. Just like kind of the very comfortably, and it's like kind of very difficult to be enlightenment or to understand without doing nothing, and it's difficult to achieve the happiness. And it's like Buddha's most important disciple, Kashyapani. He is like a great rishi, practitioner of the Hindu. He is most follower of the God. He has unshakable faith to the God. And Buddha is the enlightenment. Of course, Buddha is difficult to believe God. And they are like kind of challenges. Kashyapana say, of course there's two Kashyapans, but another Kashyapan, and the best Kashyapanas. Kashyapana, once they met it, and Kashyapana says, Siddhartha, I don't want to talk to you. You are like kind of more pagans, because you don't believe God, Creator, Shiva. Buddha said, yes, that's maybe. Okay, also I want to talk. And Kashyapani said, yes. One day, Kashyapani meditated on near the river. And Buddhas came to there. And he asked, great sage, teacher, may I a little bit discussion with you? And Kashyapani said, yes, we can't argue. You are like kind of the opposite of my path. Okay? He sit there and they talk. If you don't believe God, how you can to receive happiness? You should to put and prayer and faith, devotion to the God. And Buddha said, yes, that is maybe it is the good. I have one question, he said. And Kashyapa said, yes, you're welcome. And in the near us here is the big river. If I want to cross this river, how can I cross this river? Can you tell me? Kashapan said, yes. In order to cross this river, maybe you need a boat or some like kind of the transporters, or maybe you need to swimming, or maybe you need to cross very gently. And Buddha said, yeah, that is a very good idea. But if I don't want to accept any transportations, boat, or I don't want to swimming, I don't want to cross myself, I'm choosed to sit here. I will put the devotion, faith to God, can you transport me? But I don't want to do nothing. Can I reach into the sides of the waters? Kashyapani said, no. That is my point. If you don't do nothing, you don't do nothing, how can God to help? If God has some power, you choose to put faith, devotion, God can do everything for you, then why God don't help to the such countless suffering sentient beings? And then Kashyapa was totally shocked. I cannot to argue with you. I want to bow into your feet. Today, start, I'm follow to you. Like this sort of. And kind of we need to talk. What does it mean? The Buddha said, we need to do. Without doing nothing, who can to give us happiness? And therefore, teachers teach to us great methods. And Buddha also, his best message, he said, I give you methods, how you become enlightenment. If you use these methods into practice, you will become the same as me, Buddha. Otherwise, how I can to help to you? I'm helping to you through the teachings. Give kind of education to you yourself to become the great swimmer, like captain, navigator, protector yourself. Therefore, we need to into practice, determination, disregard any hardships. That is the best offerings. In the middle way is the known as service with body and speech, and involves serving him or doing whatever he need. You to do, whether physically or verbally or mentally. And that is like kind of the very important. And when you says, okay, immediately I want to make police my teacher. I want to offering to my physically, also verbally, or the mentally. And that is also is like a very carefully. It's the middling. And if you offering wrong way, the physically or verbally, mentally, maybe it is not correctly. And like a kind of the very mindfulnessly, very much mindfulness, vigilantly. And then, for example, physically, maybe offering means, maybe teachers doing some massive virtue things. You can to participate. And maybe in the Buddha's teachings, like kind of learns. And that moment you can to offering your verbally. Buddha's maybe is like making the like kind of the doing the meditations. and 3, 6, 9, 10, many years, or like any kind of retreat, possible to enjoy, to participate, to be close to this sort of doing virtual things. And then it's very important. Of course, student is like kind of the maturated, and you have irreversible faith. Whatever teachers kind of teach to you, you are fully, determinedly, and definitively you have faith, devotion, you offered physically, verbally, mentally, and that is good. For example, Jetsun Malaripa, later we came to talk. When he first time met his root teacher Mara, Malaripa said, I haven't got any offering to you, but I want to offer you my physical, verb, mentally. And he said, yes, you are like complain, you are the evil person. That is not necessary for me, but good things you offer to me, your 3 doors, body, speech, mind. That is good connections, like this. Of course, later, Malaripa really serious offered. And then is the lowest way is by the material offerings, which means to please your teacher by giving him material good, food, money, and so forth. That is also, yesterday we described, and this sort of the very much risky, dangerous. For example, myself, I'm like worst student. If I wanted to offer fully my belongings, do I have such strangeness? Sense of the loss? If I offered all my belongings things, after I'm almost checking, I offer to you, but where did you put? You don't like using properly. Oh, I'm sad. I have problems. This sort of not very good. And in this perspective, we need to be mindfulness, vigilant. Even your offerings, they like lowest way of the making pleased your teacher. In order to offering things, good, food, monies, need limited. And you offering everything, what afterwards, what are you going to do? Maybe great masters, great master, great teacher, qualified teachers never ever make you poor. Never you make kind of the like problems. And all the times they taking care of you. Maybe you participate something. Maybe also doesn't matter. Once we are offered tea, coffee, maybe it's a teacher's, maybe it's like play with you. You offered and sandwich, tea or coffee. Immediately teachers collect, put into the toilet. You don't need to be sad. Maybe something purpose. You should to be very happy. Then of course, maybe some student, okay, I'm angry. Why you don't eat my food? Why you don't put my food into the toilet? I offered to you. Which kind of problems? Then we need to argue, dispute, and then it's maybe we run away. Nothing, not like this. We offered food or tea, sandwich, whatever doings. Do, very wonderful. First important, teachers need to accept. If accepted, okay, that is your job, our job, student job is finished. Whatever they do, even we are making the generosities. For example, sometimes someone's begging money, some things. Most we say, oh, don't give, because they buy drug, alcohols. Not good. No, not say like this. You choose to whatever you want, you can to offer. This person give, generous. 1 euro, 10 cents. Give. After immediately this person go to buy drug or alcohol, it doesn't matter. This person's responsibilities. You choose to offer. You maybe you offered, you say, taking care of yourself. Wonderful way. Like this sort of, some looks like necessary times. There's more like kind of to describe about that. Then sometimes non-necessary times push, oh, I want to offer to you. It is like kind of, my gosh, it's like one my teacher, Dzogchen Rinpoche, one person's coming to says, 1,000 pound offered. Kind of the like a person is very happy, but Rinpoche says, what are you doing? I'm offering to you, can you use this? I'm not seeking. He took this envelope, throw it. No, why you arguing me? Almost afterwards doesn't want to talk. I was so scared. This person is honest, this person is really offering. But that is like, we didn't check the really correct or not. First, we need to like, how it's really is something is there's chance. Then this person's like 1,000 pounds is quite a lot. Rinpoche was very much angry. I don't need. Why you give me money? And it's very, very, very funny. Like this, sometimes it's like it's a right times, not right times is qualified teachers. Even if you offered food, money, sandwich, coffee, become angry. Maybe it's like kind of the, it's like a complaint, taking care. It's like this grab in the Jigme's book, Treasury of the Precious Qualities, sayings like this: to offer what wealth you may have to the fourth jewel. Fourth jewel is the teacher. When we recite the 3 jewels, the refuge praise, we say, I'm taking in the refuge teacher. This is the 4th refuge source. We say it's the taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, teachers. Offered what wealth you may have, you should to offer to the 4th jewels. The 4th jewel is the embodiment of the 3 jewels. You are like taking refuge in 4th jewels, then you state like taking refuge all 4 jewels. The honor and serve him with the body and speech. Like this is like kind of the middle, you need to make pleased by your body, speech, minds. And not one of the action will ever be wasted. Whatever you do, offered, make pleased to your teacher. Your action is never ever be wasted. Goodly connection or badly connections. Yesterday we already studied. And also, but out of the 3 ways to please him, practice, it is the best. 3 ways of the pleased to him. In the among of the 3 ways to please it, the best perfect offering is that to practice is the best. And however, incomprehensibly, the teacher may behave. Incomprehensibly means it's impossible to something comprehensible, the teacher's behaviors. Teacher's behaviors incomprehensibly, because it's like enormous. We don't know. the purpose, what the qualified teachers are doing. Always maintain, student, your mind, pure perceptions, and to recognize he or her, the teacher's way of doing things as his skillful methods, enlightened activities, in order to help to the sentient beings' disciples. Maybe this teacher has many different behaviors. Absolutely. For example, look at the Dzogchen Rinpoche. Sometimes his behaviors inconceivable. If you ask to Rinpoche, let's go to this way, then he won't go this way. Let's go this way, then he wants to go this way. And all the time, sometimes opposite. Particularly if you be more closer and like this. But his most times kindness, all the time is very much concerning to the student. Like first the author of the Patrul Rinpoche. Like also this. Before he passed away, and he has one very strange tendency, and he requested to the Patrul Rinpoche, you are great master, very famous, you are the Shantadeva reincarnation of the Jigme Limba or the Avalokiteshvara. You should die very special ways. And he said, okay, fell down into near the stuff. And inconceivable way, it looks like normal, ordinary person's way of the dying. And then it's Nyosho Lontos came, and he is very loudly crying to say, why are you sure to like this? And then his body is going back. And like this, sometimes it's showing to very stupid things, very strange things. Maybe that is enlightened, skillful methods. We need to keep our mind, maintain the pure perceptions, very important. Of course, in the modern civilization, people, it's very difficult. But first to study, really need to discover the teacher's qualities and realizations, how it is the benefit. Finally, then maybe you can easily maintain pure perceptions. And the beginning, of course, that is difficult to accept. Many sometimes what I can to see, some is great, some master. For example, some in the middle, it is the most famous at Mahasiddhi in Nepal. Like this Shadar Songji Dorje, like a Buddha, same. He's a very much hidden yogi. Nobody's difficult to visit him. And even you visit, very, very tough, strong, very much low profile, sitting in the cave, and married to have children, and practice in the forest. How it is the wonderful. And also it's a little bit different. Very, very funny things. In the Bhutanese kingdoms, queens invited him. And first he came, and finally, and she wanted to the big ceremony offering mandala offerings. But everybody's preparing. Shadar Rinpoche is already gone. And certainly they are searching where his Rinpoche is. Rinpoche is already in Nepal. And said, but like this, no chance to. And like this, different way, we cannot to be angry. We need to maintain the pure perceptions like this. There is the great history. You want to listen to that? Great Pandita Naropa's history. How really he relied on his own teacher, Telopasi. Naropa had already become the highly, very scholared, uncompleted, really he's the same self. But his Yadam deities told him that his teacher from previous lives was the great Telupa, and that refined him he should travel to Eastern Indias. That is like prophesied, forecasted by his own Yadam deities. Then is Naropa set off immediately, of course, but opened the travel, arrive in the eastern Nepal or the Indias. He had no idea where to find Telupa. He asked the local people. The local people, they don't know, but they knew nothing. Who's Telupa? We don't know where's the Telupas. Is there nobody in this part named Telupa? He insisted to the local peoples. There is someone told to the Naropa, Telupa outcast, or Telupa the beggar, poor Telupa. Yeah, there is one beggar Telupa. Are you asserting that? And then is the Naropa thought, the action of the siddhis are the incomprehensible. It's difficult to know about. That might be him or the Telupa. He asked where Telupa, the beggar Telupa, lived. By that ruined wall over there, the local, the person say, look, they run the wall like awful. There's like kind of, there's smoking. Can you see coming from the ruined wall? They replied like this. There is the living Telupa. When Naropa go to the place that had been pointed out, he found Telupa seated in the front of the wooden tap. You are not reading. Wooden tap of the fish. Wooden tap of the fish is like kind of the one contain, which somewhere still alive, jumping, running in the tap. And someone already dead those fish. Telupa took a fish, grilled it over the fire, and put it in the mouth. And he doing like snapping his finger. Naropa prostrated himself before him, asked Telupa, can you accept me as your disciples? Naropa replied, what are you talking about? Telupa said, I am just a beggar living in the ruined walls. But Naropa insisted, please, can you accept as your disciples? So Telupa accepted him. Now Telupa was and these situations, Telupa was not killing those fish because just become he has hungry or cold, could find nothing else to eat. Not like this. But Telupa's connecting to the fishes. Fish are completely ignorant of what to do, what not to do. Creatures with many negative actions on the past life. And the Telopa had the power to free them by eating their flesh. He was making a link with their consciousness, which he could then transform to pure Buddha field. Therefore, Telopa's eating this fish. Similarly, Sarabhas lived as an arrowsmith, very much like kind of the hunter. Sarabhas is a very, very great India Mahasiddhi, living in the jungle alone and like kind of nobody's difficult to reach. And the same as also it's a Shavaripa, as are the hunter, carrying dog and guns, hunting the animals. Most of other mighty siddhas in India, there are two living in the very kind of the low profile and like kind of a homeless way. And also they show in very much strange way. Adopted very low lifestyles, or for those of outcasted, nothing kind of caste, like very much lower caste way, beggar and broken way they are living. And of course sometimes our modern timers, maybe it's like kind of someone's wearing expensive clothes and very fat, handsome, then we have more faith devotions. It's not like this. Like most Mahasiddhis, very skinny, wearing rag cloth and sitting in the almost the same as the situation, the homeless dogs. It's difficult to follow up, yes, but in this kind of low profile, we can find most noble, authentic teachers. Therefore, fortunate student, it is therefore important not to take any of your teacher's actions in the wrong way. Training yourself to have only pure perceptions, most important. Also, there is a quotation, Treasure of the Precious Qualities by the Jigme, chapter 5, verse 39. Do not misinterpret how he acts, the teachers. Most of India's siddhis lived as a common evil does, has outcasts, based outcast. They're like kind of, in India, outcast means not kind of outside of the Brahma's caste. And there's a kind of the Dolvas in they, like a hunter, fisherman, prostitute, and some is like this sort of evil does. But reality, they are these great masters. More degenerate than the lowest of the lowest. Maybe I wouldn't use the degenerate. More be broken than the lowest of the lower. Broken. Maybe it's more nice. You know, it's like I am a broke, you know, it's like I am a poor, a beggar. Degenerate, maybe it's like kind of it's too strong word. Degenerate, maybe contaminated something. Their mind is not contaminated. Their body is not contaminated. Their verb is not contaminated. But they like outwardly, they are broken. Therefore, we can more be broken than the lowest of the lowest broken lifestyles. People who ignore this point and continuously misinterpreting and criticizing what their teacher does would, so it is said. This kind of the happens. We don't know our own attitude, our own conduct, our own behaviors, our own characteristics. All the time is searching curiosity to the teacher's activities. Maybe at the beginning, when you are searching the teachers, yes, why not? If you follow or not. Once you are decided, follow. You find some. Then afterwards, do not searching, do not kind of the investigating, do not kind of be curiosities. Maintain pure perceptions. Very important. Of course, there's examples. Find faults even in the Buddha. If they were to live with him long enough, if you stay there long enough with teachers, often you can see some kind of the mistake or the defects. Maybe that is like kind of the our own, according to ignore, obscurations, impure perceptions, perceive, dualistic perspective. And it's very dangerous. Therefore, sometimes teachers, it's better to make the distant student, particularly critical students. It's best. Some is the student, absolutely, whatever the teacher does, there's no problem. But for now, in here is we are talking about ourselves, how we can to correct. Once we find the qualified teachers, how we can to correct ourselves, control ourselves. That is very important. The monk Snakshura was the Buddha's half-brother. He served him for the 24 years. Not really served. Served means maybe like kind of the workers. But they be together in the one palace. Because it's like the Shunashara or the Sunakshara, actually is the Devadalt. And he is like the king brother's son. They are living in the palace together many years, maybe more than the 25 years, 24 years. And of course, all the times challenge, competition, you saw in the Buddha's biography, in the film. Therefore, they knew by heart all the 12 categories of the teachings in the Pitakas. The 12 categories of the teaching in the Pitakas. The 12 categories of the teaching in the Pitakas. This is the resuming of the 84,000 of the Buddha's teaching. These teachings, the Devadatas, he has and memorize. He like the saw everything the Buddha did as deceitful faults. He knows by heart the 12 categories of the teaching in the Pitakas. But whatever Buddha did, and he perceived as like kind of deceitful. And eventually came to the erroneous conclusion that apart from Ura 6 feet wide, there was no difference between the Buddha and himself. And he's thinking, the Devadatas, eventually he's thinking very much kind of the Erroneous. Erroneous means is like kind of the deceitful way, confusion way, conclusions. And he think is like only in the Buddha and the head there is a ura, this luminosity. Like this is 6 feet means it's just this ones. That he has something is like luminosity. That is the difference. Others, we are not different, it's same. He's thinking like this. Of course, reality is completely different, but like this. There was no difference between me and the Buddha. He's thinking like this. Apart from that might around your body 6 feet, like kind of the wide this ura. I don't want to service to you, he says like. Never have I seen in the 24 years as your servant. Nothing kind of qualities, only I see your ura like 6 feet wide in your head. That's all. Even a sesame seed worth of the spatial qualities in you, I never see like this. In the Dharma perspectives, as for the Dharma, I know as much as you. I know as much as you. We often to say that. I know as much as you. Teachers, we say teacher as much as teachers know. I know that. Longer be your servant. He saying he left. I mean, is he left? Means it's like he left maybe. Yes, it is the palace. And he the communities. You know, it's like very funny histories. When his Buddha was in the palace, he wanted to challenge, he wanted to become king before Buddha became king. Buddha ran away to practice, he became enlightenment. He also want to be enlightenment. He like take out the hair, make a bull, and then he become the like a kind of follow the Buddha. Afterwards, he all the time challenges. He's intelligent. He can memorize the 12 categories of the teaching in the sutta. And then it's finally he made a big separation. And someone's follow him like this. But finally, of course, it doesn't work. Thereafter, Ananda became near the Buddha's personal attendant. He asked the Buddha where Devadatta would be reborn. Shunaksharas, I don't know, this may be Hindus. Okay, Sanskrit. In the week's time, Buddha replied, after maybe 1 week, he is going to die. Shunakara's life will come to end and will be reborn as the Prita in the flower garden. Buddha said that to the Ananda. Ananda went to see Shunakshara, Shatra, and told him that the Buddha has said like this, you will die and you will be reborn in Prita in a flower gardens. Shunakshara thought to himself, sometimes those liars of his come true, he said Buddha. So for 7 days I had better be very careful, and then I will say something. After end of the week, I'll make him eat his word. Maybe it's like that means eat his word means after the weeks I will make like a scorn laughable. And maybe his word is not really truth. Surely I will not die. He spent the week fasting. Fasting means it's like kind of the Hyuni fast. It's like don't eat 7 days, like kind of there is a special way. not fasten, no, fast. Oh, this pronunciation. Fast.
Fast.
Or fast. Okay, fast. Fasting. Okay, my pronunciation is wrong. Fasting, fast. Fasting means it's like kind of their special rituals. One day you eat, one day you don't eat, and one day you talk, one day you not talk. This kind of core ritual of the Nyonim, very special. And then on the evening of the 7th day, this is not evening, on the morning of the 7th day, in Tibet is Nomo. Nomo is in the morning. In the morning of the 7th day, his throat felt very dry. So he drank some water, but he couldn't not digest the water properly and died. And that is the truth like this. He has reborn in the flower gardens as a preta with all 9 marks of the ugliness. This history is a little bit different than in India's. How is like Devadatta died? It's like kind of once he wanted to kill Buddha, and he's waiting in the mountain. Buddha is coming to in the below of the mountain, and he keep the huge rock ready to rolling into like on the Buddha. And then is Buddha's coming. He saw that alone, Buddha coming, and he threw out this rock. And rock it doesn't hit to Buddha wrong way, but some in the case he fell down. Some as the ruling mountain and down and certainly felt near the Buddha. And the Buddha is like immediate to see, hey, Devadatta, what happened? And then he's huge injured. And then it's like he says, I'm very sorry. But then it's could you help me? And he very sadly died. And like this, they're a little bit different, the story. But anyway, also maybe that is one of his stories. But it's like could digest it, he died. Then he was reborn in the flower garden as the preta with the 9 marks of the ugliness. Ugliness is there's 9 you can to count ugliness. And it's like the color is completely blue. And also it's like a kind of the looks like everywhere pursed and very skinny. You can to see all like kind of the bones. And also it's like smell is really very ugly. And this kind of like a very and wearing clothes, everything is ugly way. And you see it's like a very low and it's like kind of difficult to go to there. This sort of there's a kind of uglies. This is pretas is like this. What can you do? And whenever you see faults in anything your sublime teachers does, you should feel deeply embraced, embarrassed, and shamed of yourself. It is very important. Of course, maybe this their adult. Of course, he reborn like this. Maybe in the family, probably he also kind of connect to the Buddha. He liberated. While it's like this kind of situations happened, we need to reflect that it is our own mental visions that is the impute perspective perceived like this. We need to control ourselves. We should to keep ourselves it is like kind of, oh, I received something, defects or something, but maybe that's my impure perceptions perspective. That is the very much necessarily. Okay, now is the time. Before maybe we can do quotations. And what all these actions are utterly flawless and unerring, strengthen your pure perception of him and increase your faith. And do not need to look or investigate curiosity to the teacher's defects, and very much correct, control yourself with your mindfulness, vigilant, and to practice pure perceptions, and all the times correct, and your pure perception is like to him increase, more developed faith, devotion. This kind of the students never ever obstacles. The 100% soon be enlightenment. Okay, coffee and tea.